Let's settle this argument right now, because your absolute favorite hunting caliber has a fatal flaw that will eventually wreck your season. I do not care if you have been shooting it for 30 years, or if your grandfather handed it down to you. Every single one of the most popular hunting rounds in America has a severe weakness, except for one. Here is the scenario. You get one rifle and one caliber to hunt whitetail in thick East Coast timber, chase pronghorn across open Wyoming country, and stare down a massive grizzly in coastal Alaska. Most calibers can easily handle two of those jobs, but the real question is, which one does not completely fall apart on the third? I took the top 7 contenders on the market today, and I am eliminating them one by one based on a very simple test. We are looking at exactly where each cartridge breaks down when you actually demand it to do everything. We are talking terminal ballistics, mass retention, and cold, hard facts. No marketing fluff, let's get into it. Moving on to number 7, the 243 Winchester. This absolute tack driver takes a standard .308 case and necks it down to accept a 0.243-inch projectile. We are talking about launching a 95-grain bullet at roughly 3,100 feet per second. It delivers a hyper-flat trajectory that makes holding dead on for medium-sized game almost too easy. Under the hood, the standard barrel twist rate for this cartridge is usually 1 in 10 inches. That specific twist stabilizes these lighter pills perfectly to eliminate keyholing and give you extreme flight consistency. But because it spins them at that specific rate, it physically cannot stabilize the heavy, ultra-high ballistic coefficient bullets needed to buck heavy crosswinds at extreme distances. When this round hits the ballistics gel at 200 yards, the energy transfer is violently fast. It acts like a literal grenade inside the cavity. The light jacket and rapid expansion mean it dumps almost 100% of its kinetic energy within the first 10 inches of penetration. For thin-skinned targets like coyotes and eastern whitetail, the wound channel is massive and shuts down the central nervous system instantly. The damage to your wallet is practically non-existent. You can grab decent hunting loads for about $25 a box, making your cost per round incredibly friendly for high-volume varmint control. But here is the fatal performance quirk. It completely lacks mass retention. If you send it downrange at a massive bull elk and hit thick shoulder bone, that light bullet splatters on impact. The penetration stops cold, leaving you with a very bad situation in the deep woods. Stepping up the game to number 6, the 6.5 Creedmoor. Listen, I know the fanboys will defend this cartridge to the death, but we have to look at the raw data. It feeds on long, sleek bullets, pushing a 140-grain projectile downrange at roughly 2,700 feet per second. The technical advantage comes directly from the actual case geometry. The brass features a steep 30-degree shoulder and minimal body taper, allowing those incredibly high ballistic coefficient bullets to seat perfectly without compressing the powder charge. That specific design guarantees extremely consistent chamber pressures and single-digit standard deviations on your velocity. Looking at the terminal ballistics in a gel block at 300 yards, the performance is undeniably solid. Because it cuts through the air so efficiently, it retains plenty of speed upon impact. The wound channel is long and devastating, driving deep through 18 inches of synthetic tissue. Using a quality bonded bullet, you get fantastic mass retention that easily punches through the ribs of a mule deer and exits the other side. The recoil impulse is nothing more than a polite tap on the shoulder. You can spot your own impacts through your hunting scope without ever losing your sight picture. But setting you back around $45 a box for premium hunting ammunition, you're definitely paying a modern hype tax. The bang for your buck is decent, but you are absolutely paying extra for the trend. Here is the deal breaker. This cartridge is completely dependent on long barrels to generate kinetic energy. Guys love buying short and handy hunting rifles, but if you run this caliber out of an 18-inch tube, you lose so much muzzle velocity that the bullet fails to violently expand at distance. It just pokes a tiny ice pick hole straight through the vitals, and you spend the rest of the night tracking a wounded animal in the dark. Now we get serious at number 5. The .308 Winchester. This absolute workhorse slings 150 grain projectiles downrange at roughly 2,700 feet per second. Under the hood, the true advantage of this cartridge lies in its short action case design. The compact and wide powder column ensures a highly uniform ignition from the primer flash. That highly efficient propellant burn means you get incredibly consistent muzzle velocities even out of a shorter 20-inch barrel, giving you single-digit standard deviations without needing a massive heavy rig to carry through the woods. Looking at the gel test simulation at 200 yards, the terminal performance is undeniably brutal, impacting the block with over 1,800 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. It hits like a runaway freight train. A quality bonded soft point will mushroom perfectly while retaining 90% of its initial grain weight. The permanent wound channel destroys the boiler room on heavy hogs and whitetail, driving deep enough to guarantee a clean harvest every single time. The street price for this ammunition makes it the ultimate working man setup. You can literally walk into any hardware store in a one-stoplight town and grab a box for around $30. That extremely low cost per round means you can actually afford to train heavily and dial in your holds. Range time is cheap, ensuring you build the muscle memory needed for when that trophy buck finally steps out of the timber. But here is the factual performance deal breaker. It simply runs out of gas when the terrain opens up completely. Once you push past 400 yards, the bullet drops like an anvil and loses the required velocity to force reliable expansion on impact. It is arguably the most trustworthy tool in the shed for close-range encounters. But wait until you see the absolute monster sitting at number 1. Cranking up the heat at number 4, the .270 Winchester. This absolute laser beam eats lightweight copper solids for breakfast, pushing a 130 grain bullet out of the muzzle at over 3,000 feet per second. The secret to that blistering speed is the severe bottleneck case design. By taking a standard 30-06 brass and necking it down to hold a 0.277-inch projectile, it creates a high-pressure funnel effect. That massive powder column forces expanding gases through a much smaller opening, dramatically accelerating the bullet down the barrel for a hyper-flat trajectory. Watching this caliber impact a ballistics gel block at 300 yards is a violent spectacle because it hits with such immense hydraulic velocity. The wound channel tears open instantly upon entry. The shock wave ripples through the block like an angry hornet, dumping nearly 100% of its kinetic energy in the first 12 inches. For medium-sized game like mule deer and pronghorn, that rapid expansion results in catastrophic tissue damage that drops them right in their tracks. The damage to your wallet is surprisingly reasonable for this level of flat shooting performance. You are looking at roughly 40 bucks a box for quality soft points at your local sporting goods store. It delivers genuine long-range capability without the agonizing cost per round of modern Magnum cartridges, making it an excellent choice for a hunter on a strict budget. But the undeniable deal breaker is the absolute limitation on bullet mass. This platform maxes out completely around 150 grains, meaning it completely lacks the heavy sectional density required to crack through the armor of a massive coastal brown bear. If you take this surgical instrument into grizzly country and hit thick shoulder bone, the light projectile will shatter like cheap glass instead of driving straight into the vitals. It is phenomenal for deer, but a massive liability when the animal walking out of the timber weighs over 800 pounds. Entering the elite tier at number 3, the 7mm Remington Magnum. This heavy hitter feeds on extremely aerodynamic projectiles, sending a 160 grain bullet screaming out of the muzzle at over 3,000 feet per second. The mechanical secret to handling this massive pressure is the belted Magnum case design. Unlike standard rounds that headspace on the shoulder of the brass, this cartridge features a reinforced belt of thick brass just above the extractor groove. That belt acts as a hard stop inside the chamber, safely containing the immense pressures required to push heavy bullets at blistering velocities without blowing out the case web. Smashing into the ballistics gel at 500 yards. This round shows absolutely zero mercy. Thanks to a ridiculously high ballistic coefficient, it slices through crosswinds and hits the block with bone-crushing authority. The permanent wound cavity is a massive tearing channel, driving deep past 20 inches of dense synthetic tissue. Mass retention remains outstanding when paired with a premium bonded projectile, ensuring that even at extended distances, it delivers a terminal shock wave that shuts down the nervous system of a bull elk instantly. The financial reality is where things start getting incredibly painful. Expect to drop around 60 to 70 bucks for a single box of premium hunting ammunition. You are paying top dollar for that extended range capability and specialized brass, meaning high volume range days will drain your wallet faster than a bad divorce. In a supply chain shortage, this is always one of the very first calibers to vanish from the shelves entirely. But the absolute deal breaker here is the severe physical penalty it exacts on the shooter. Launching these Magnum rounds generates over 23 foot-pounds of free recoil energy, kicking your shoulder like an unhinged stallion. That punishing rearward impulse causes most average guys to develop a severe flinch after just 20 rounds, completely destroying their trigger control and accuracy when it is time to make a crucial shot across a windy canyon. Closer to the crown at number 2, the 300 Winchester Magnum. This absolute monster eats heavy .30 caliber projectiles for breakfast, slinging a massive 180 grain chunk of lead at over 3,000 feet per second. To harness that ridiculous chamber pressure, rifles chambered in this behemoth absolutely require precision glass bedding in the stock. The mechanical energy generated upon primer ignition is so incredibly violent that a standard unbedded action will shift inside the chassis under the recoil impulse. That microscopic movement completely destroys your barrel harmonics, turning a long-range precision tool into an inconsistent scattergun. Hitting the heavy ballistics gel block at 400 yards looks like a localized bomb just went off, because it carries close to 2,000 foot-pounds of kinetic energy at that distance. The hydraulic shock instantly liquefies the first 8 inches of the block. The wound channel is absolutely monstrous, pushing deep into the 24-inch mark. Mass retention stays near perfect as the thick copper jacket plows through simulated heavy bone without deflecting an inch. The damage to your wallet is severe every single time you lift the bolt handle. You will be dropping at least $50 to $60 a box for quality factory hunting loads, making casual range sessions an incredibly expensive habit. That high cost per round means you are paying a heavy premium for absolute insurance against dangerous game in the backcountry. But the absolute deal breaker is the catastrophic performance quirk on standard-sized game. It destroys an absurd amount of good meat. If you take this anti-aircraft round into the eastern woods and hit an average whitetail at 50 yards, the sheer velocity and hydrostatic shock will completely blow out both shoulders and ruin your harvest, kicking your shoulder like a pissed-off heavyweight. It is the ultimate grizzly stopper, but using it on a deer is like hunting with a hand grenade. Taking the throne at number 1, the 30-06 Springfield. This legendary long-action cartridge is the absolute standard for North American game. Chambered for a massive variety of projectiles, it excels at slinging a heavy 180-grain bullet at over 2,700 feet per second. Under the hood, the mechanical brilliance lies in the actual case length and internal powder capacity. Unlike short-action rounds, this longer brass allows for a much slower burning powder column. That controlled burn rate means you get a sustained pressure curve behind heavy bullets. It drives them to devastating terminal velocities without exceeding safe chamber pressures inside your rifle, ensuring your barrel harmonics stay incredibly consistent even if you are running a rigid laminate woodstock. Looking at the terminal ballistics in a heavy gel block at 300 yards, this round is a complete shapeshifter. Load it with a 150-grain bonded bullet, and it explodes soft tissue with massive hydraulic shock. Step up to a 220-grain solid, and it plows through 24 inches of heavy synthetic tissue with zero deflection. The mass retention on those heavier projectiles is absolutely phenomenal, delivering a wide and permanent wound channel that punches straight through thick shoulder bone on massive, dangerous game. The financial reality of this round is what truly cements its legacy. You can walk into any store and grab a box of reliable hunting loads for around $35. That excellent cost per round ratio means you can throw a traditional optical hunting scope on your rig and actually afford to practice your holds at distance without going completely broke. It takes the absolute number 1 spot because it gives you the cheap range time and rugged reliability of number 5, but brings the heavy bone-crushing penetration that puts number 4 to absolute shame. It will drop a massive coastal grizzly bear dead in its tracks without beating your shoulder to a pulp like number 2. It is the only caliber on this list that never forces you to apologize for carrying it, period. So there is the raw truth. 7 calibers, 6 absolute deal breakers, and only 1 cartridge that actually survives the ultimate test when the pressure is on. Look, I know some of you are probably typing furiously right now to defend your favorite round. That is perfectly fine. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly what you are carrying into the deep timber this season. If you can only afford to keep 1 single rifle for the rest of your hunting life, what caliber are you betting your tags on? If this breakdown saved you from blowing a massive paycheck on the wrong setup, hit that like button. It takes half a second and it helps push the algorithm so more guys get the facts instead of the marketing fluff. Watch your 6. I am out.